Hi, today's lesson is on acid and base neutralization. We're going to look at part one, so we're just going to get at the idea of what happens in an acid and base neutralization. So a little bit of review on what an acid is. From before, you had learned that an acid is a substance that produces hydrogen ions in solution. So I've got a beaker of nitric acid, that's HNO3 here. We're going to put it in water, let it dissolve, and when that happens, you make a solution. So when nitric acid dissolves, your hydrogens will separate from your nitrate ions. Your hydrogen ions will separate from your nitrate ions. So every single acid molecule that gets thrown in will dissolve and produce a hydrogen ion. So what I do want you to remember is that I have four molecules of HNO3. They all broke apart, so I created four hydrogen ions, and that's going to be my acidic solution. All right. Now I have my basic solution. Bases are substances that produce hydroxide ions in solution. That's the OH minus. So we're going to have a lithium hydroxide. We're going to make a solution with the lithium hydroxide. So that's going to get dissolved in water. Your lithiums will break apart from your hydroxide ions, every single one. So if you look at what I have four lithium hydroxides that broke apart, and that created four hydroxide ions. All I did was I just switched these two around, not any different than the top two. Okay, so I have four hydroxide ions, and that's going to be my basic solution. So when you actually mix the two, something called neutralization occurs. So we'll look at, well, why is it called neutralization? So if you think about before, I talked about how I had four hydrogen ions, this for my four H pluses, and I have my four hydroxide ions in my base. And when I mix the two together, I have a beaker here with my acids and my bases, and they're all going to mix together. And if you think about it, a hydrogen ion and a hydroxide ion can come together. You have an H and an OH, and they're going to come together and make HOH. And that's actually water. So when you mix an acid together, you take the hydrogen ions, you're going to mix it with the base, you're going to take the hydroxide ions, and you actually create water. So if you think about the pH of water, it's 7, and 7 is a neutral pH. So that's why when you mix an acid and base together, if you can get the amounts of acid to equal the amounts of base, 4 and 4 in this case, you create water, and you end up getting a pH that's 7, that's neutral pH, and that's why we call it acid-base neutralization. They essentially cancel each other out, and you produce a neutral solution. So I want to be able to show you what this looks like. So I'm going to show you the pH scale real quick, and what I want you to take note is that a very acidic solution is usually red, and a very alkaline, or this is basic solution, is going to be purple. And your neutral solution will be greenish, a nice green color. So let's take a look at, that's just beakers, right here. This has no audio, but what I want you to do is to take a look at their two solutions. They have hydrochloric acid and sodium hydroxide. There's your acid, there's your base. And if you look at them, add that universal indicator, the acid turns a bright red. So that's a pH of 1. I'm going to stir that up. And now a universal indicator will be acid added to the base, and you're going to see it turns a deep purple. So that's going to be a pH of 14. Okay, so now you have an acidic solution on this side. You have a lot of H pluses, hydrogen ions in there. In this one, you've got a lot of hydroxide, OH ions in there. And when you mixes the two, you see that neutralization has occurred. You end up with a pH of 7, which is a neutral pH. And there, if you look at the equation on the bottom, you'll see that water is one of the things that's produced. Okay, don't worry about the equation like this. That's going to be in the next lesson. But what I want you to get from this lesson is that if you mix an acid, if you mix a base in equal amounts, you're going to end up with a neutral solution because you've created water. Okay, that's it. Thank you.